space. And maybe I will just very quickly tell you a little bit about myself, because who is this person who's coming and, taking up our 2 hours of afternoon to talk to us? So, like Nidhi so beautifully introduced me, I right now my chief identity is being Krishna's mother. Krishna is my son. He's 11 years old on the autism spectrum, and he's high support needs. He is profoundly autistic. But before this, I am a postgraduate in physics from IIT Madras. I was a copy editor. I was an instructional designer. I did a lot of different things with different parts of my life and paused everything when Krishna's autism diagnosis came through. So, and that is a story that I want to talk to you about, because I think that's a common story that's binding all of us here today. We are all autism parents and we are all working for, I think, the best for our children, the best way to enable them, the best way to help them live their future life. And what I want to talk to you about today is that the best way to do that is to be the best parent possible. And to be the best parent possible, you have to focus on yourself also and remove that also and bring it a little primarily. It's a difficult step to take. It's a very difficult step to take. And that is going to be the theme of our discussion here today. So, as autism parents, I think if I can tell you a little bit about my own journey, the very first reaction was a feeling of isolation and a feeling of being cut off from the rest of society as a whole, from family, from friends, from neighbors. But the story is actually not that. The story is a little different, because in India itself, just in India, there are about 2 million children who have been diagnosed to be on the autism spectrum. And now you know our country, that if the statistics say that it's 2 million, it's going to be a lot of underdiagnosis that's happening over here. So there are people who either do not know that they need to go for a diagnosis, or there are people who want to hide the diagnosis for shame, stigma. Many reasons are there, many factors are there. So if 2 million approximately is the recorded figure, so what does that mean? There are at least 4 million parents out there. 4 million is a huge number. I can barely get, there are about 12, there are 12 of us here, right, in this room. So 12 is a number that I can picturize in my mind. Now, if you make it 50, I'm going to struggle a little. If you say it's 100, my mind accepts, but if I look at the numbers, it's going to be a little confusing. 4 million parents. So the point of this is that we are not alone. We are not isolated, though that is the feeling that we have, that is the mindset that we have when the diagnosis comes through. And the whole point is to break out of this. The whole point is to get out of that mindset that, that we are isolated, there is nobody, we are struggling. It's a journey that we have to undertake all alone with all our fears and all the issues that we face from both ourselves and from society. So, no, the whole point, the whole stress that I want to place right now is that you're not alone. One, look at your own emotions. And that is something that you have in common with almost 4 million other people. And that's a huge amount of company that you have. And with all of us, it's possible to make this journey with strength, with joy, and with hope. And I'm saying that from a place where my son needs support for everything in his life, from brushing his teeth to peeing, pooing, putting on his clothes, everything. He needs help. He needs someone to take care of him, and he needs someone to help him handle all of that. So, if I can say this, definitely all of you can. Each and every one of us can make this journey with hope, can make this journey with strength, and can make this journey with joy. Okay, said all that I've given you my little spiel, my little motivational speech, be that as it may. So, what are we going to do here today? Let me quickly show you the flow of the session. We're going to talk about guilt. We're going to talk about a lot of feelings that we suppress and are not ready to talk about, both because of mindset and because we surely don't have time. We are running to take care of our children. We are running from therapies to schools to doctors to God knows what else that we need to juggle on an everyday basis. So who has the time to acknowledge one's own emotions and to say, am I feeling guilty? Am I feeling tired? It's more like, put that aside. I need to focus on my child. So, but what happens is when you suppress all those feelings, they don't go away. They're there boxed up inside you at some part of your mind or your psyche or your whatever name you want to call it. And one fine day it's going to explode out. And this is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for burnout because it's not a day or two, it's not a year or two. This is a lifelong journey that you have. And this is a lifetime of work that we need to do. And so it's a marathon. It's running a marathon. It's not a 100-meter sprint. And pacing oneself is the most important thing when it is such a huge undertaking, such a huge responsibility. So, what else am I going to talk about now? I'm going to talk about how it is that you can find that peace in the face of a lot of challenge, I would say. How do you silence those inner voices, which really go berserk, especially on bad days, when your kid is having a meltdown, when your kid is refusing to go to school, when what worked maybe an hour ago is not working right now, and you have no idea why that's happening. I mean, yesterday your child ate his breakfast happily enough and decided to put on his shoes, but today he's refusing. And there's a full blown tantrum and a meltdown, and you need to get to work or finish the rest of the chores of the house. Your kid is late for school or therapy or whatever it is. So, how do you handle yourself then? How do you regulate yourself, your own emotions then? That's something that we will look into briefly today. And we'll talk about rediscovering who you are as a person, because that is the basis, that is the fundamental of your own character as a person and therefore as a parent. That's the foundation. So, when the foundation cracks, what happens? The structure is not strong, right? The structure is weak. The structure is ready to crumble. And that's something which I personally experienced because I put all of this on the back burner initially after Krishna's diagnosis. And I was focusing only on him. And that resulted in a person that A, I didn't like very much, and B, who was not very helpful for Krishna either. So we need to work from a space of strength and from a space of purpose, and not just a kind of what do I call it, a hectic pace, a frantic pace, saying that I've got to do everything for my kid, let everything else take the back burner. Doesn't happen like that. It has to be a rounded um 360-degree approach, I would say. Though I don't like that phrase 360 degrees, I'm still using it because it really gives you an idea. You have to look at every aspect of yourself, of your life, your kid's life, and every single thing to build a strong foundation for your path forward. Then,
Ma'am, so sorry to disturb you. So sorry
oh,
to interrupt. Ma'am, I think there is an issue with the presentation
mhm.
uh, because
Is
it
it
seems to
another?
be a little bit patchy. So could we maybe stop and try presenting again?
Yeah, sure. You're
Yes,
not
please.
able to see my screen?
It is. I think there is like a issue there with the screen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. Just give me a
Let's just see
moment.
if presenting again could help solve it.
Yes, sure, sure, sure. Let's try that. How about this? Is everyone able to see my screen? You can drop yes in the chat box, unmute yourself, say yes or no, as may be the case.
There's a gray box that appears on your presentation sometimes. Keeps coming
Ah,
off on.
all
Some
right.
kind of glitch. Some kind of glitch, I guess.
Yeah.
It could be my connection also. It could be a slightly patchy connection. Mm, Chalo, okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's not some very great gyan on the screen, which I'm not going to share in a handout with all of you
Yes.
first. So I think it's okay. Let's go ahead. All right. Okay. So I've just talked about how we are not alone in this journey and we've got a lot of company, though we don't know where they are. Most likely, they're probably hiding somewhere in their own homes and worrying about their own lives, but they are out there. And how do we get there? So, to get to this connection, you need to look at yourself first. So, I think, and the space that we first need to start is when our journey first begins, right? And the journey first begins with the diagnosis that we get for our children. And the spot when you get that diagnosis, the time when you get that diagnosis, there are so many feelings, so many emotions, sometimes a lack thereof, because you're the assessor, the pediatrician, whoever it is, they say that, okay, your child is autistic, you're on the spectrum, do ABC, next. Next patient, please come in, you're dismissed, kind of thing. And at that point of time, the the reactions that we have or which come in later. I mean, why me? It's so unfair. What will people say? How will my child manage? What am I going to do with my life after this? So many things that happen in our minds. And I think a lot of the time we feel a little guilty for these reactions too. So at this point, if I can pause a little, would you guys like to share in the chat box what is it that you felt initially when you knew about your child's diagnosis? What is it? Maybe blank, maybe numb, grief, anger, rage. What was it? What was that one feeling that, pushed everything else out of your mind? Let me give you all a minute. So it would be nice if we can use the space to have that connection that I was talking about in the beginning. Anyone? Yes, no, maybe. Mm-mm. Blank, confused, shame. Thank you, Vidya, for sharing. Mine, I think, predominantly was blank. And I was like, what? It took some days for, anything at all, any reaction at all to seep in. So, okay. So, what I want to stress over here, not applicable for me, but I can imagine the shame. Not applicable for many of us, applicable for many others of us. So I think that shame comes in when you feel guilty about yourself. You think that something that you did has caused this for your child, or somehow you're flawed. Somehow, some action that we took, or genetics, or anything at all. One of the causes for autism is something that I have created in my child, and therefore I'm feeling ashamed of it. Now, all that I want to share right now is that all of these emotions are so human. All of these emotions are so natural, and there is nothing whatsoever to feel ashamed of having these emotions in the first place. So, I think one of us has shared that they felt a little shame, and don't feel ashamed of feeling the shame is the first thing that I would say. And the next thing that I would say is there is no reason for shame. There is no reason for any self blame whatsoever, because the only point where you need to feel guilty about yourself or ashamed of yourself is when you make a conscious choice. Now, if you took a conscious choice, you made a conscious decision to do something, some action, and that was perhaps a wrong action, or that perhaps gave a wrong result, or something that you did not like, that created trouble for you, then you can feel ashamed of it perhaps, and see what steps you can take in future to right that effect. But what is it that any of us did as parents to create autism in our children consciously? Nothing at all. Even if it is a genetic factor, even if you went ahead for genetic testing and the reports came and said that because of such and such, I don't know, such and such genetic factor or DNA or whatever it is, your child is autistic, that was not something that you decided to do. That was not something that you decided that, yes, let me get this particular DNA in my genetic makeup and pass it on to my child and ensure that he or she is autistic. Only if you did that, do you need to feel, some kind of guilt or shame for that. So, while it is completely natural, it's completely normal to have such feelings, there it's not wrong. None of them are wrong, but we need to get out of it. You need to get out of that circle. You need to break out of that circle so that you can take the next step. You can take the next step, the next action that you need to take for your child and for yourself, so that, get on with life. We have to do that. We don't have a choice in the matter, right? So, but then how is it that you get on with life? When you first look at these emotions, when you acknowledge them, when you see that they are normal, and when you start addressing those feelings, and when you start giving answers to each one of those feelings to refute them. For example, if you're feeling blank, very normal, but I think after that the other emotions come rushing inside. So then comes the confusion, then comes the shame, then comes the guilt, then comes the rage, etc., etc., etc. Identify them, acknowledge them, and then see what you can do about it. So how is it that you can address these very pesky things that come and that we don't talk about it at all later? I'm going to show you a table on the screen, and I hope you guys can see my screen. I've made two columns. One is called external voices, and the other is called the inner critic voice. And the third column I've left blank for now. We'll come back to this later. Now, I hope that you guys have something to write on. Paper, pen, phone, laptop, tablet, anything at all. Then take a couple of minutes and just write down. Write down every comment that you have either received or made to yourself. Now, after the diagnosis about your child, what is it that people have been telling you? Your friends, your relatives, your families, your parents, your in-laws, brothers, siblings, whoever it is. And what is it that you have been telling yourself? In the first place, can you differentiate between the two? Think about it. Take a couple of minutes. And I'll put on my favorite music for you as you go about this. Our aim here today is to look at every uncomfortable feeling that we have ever had. Pull it out of the darkness and to put it into the light and to look at it. Are you done? Want a little more time? If you want more time, just drop empty in the chat box, please. So I'll wait for another minute. All done? All right. So we'll assume that you have all completed this. So now you've got this table where you have been able to segregate the comments and whatever remarks have been made by others and whatever it is that you have been telling yourself, the story that you've been telling yourself also. Just keep this aside. We will come back to this slide. Okay, so next. Let me share with you what I felt. Let me share with you Krishna's story, which is also my story. And let me share with you my context, in doing all of this. I'll simply assume that you guys are all very interested in figuring out what my story is. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. And I'm not even going to ask you to say yes in the chat box. I will just go ahead right now. So, Krishna is 11 years old today. And he was diagnosed to be autistic when he was almost 4 years old. And what was the story before that? Krishna developed as a neurotypical child till he was almost 4, 3 years and 8 months, approximately. By neurotypical, I mean normal, where every other child that we see, the kids who grew up, happy toddler, active toddler, bright toddler, irritating toddler, all of that was Krishna. Now moving around, whatever it is that a child normally does in the house and that you're used to. And he would recite his numbers, recite his alphabets and slokas that my dad had taught him. And of course, I was the proud parent, boring everybody else witless about all the marvelous things that my child was doing, which seemed so special and unique to me, which no doubt every parent goes through, every parent of neurotypical children goes through. And that was the story. And we were planning to start school for him, not play school, but nursery. And one fine day, it was summer, I remember, sometime in May or June, really hot summer. And this kid was just running around and playing in the hall inside home because it was boiling hot outside. He began to pee all over the hall. And we were like, what? Krishna, what's up? Use the washroom. He was completely toilet trained at the time and had never ever done this since he was maybe 6 months old or whatever it is, had never had pee accidents, nothing. And when he needed to pee, he would go to the washroom. But this afternoon, he was peeing everywhere in the hall and giggling about it. We didn't even guess in our wildest of dreams or nightmares that this was the first sign of his first regression. The first sign of his first regression. So he was peeing everywhere, he was giggling, and then I took him to the washroom. I cleaned him up, I mopped up and told him, what is this, Krishna? Use the washroom. You're feeling hot, you can play with water. I gave him a tub of water, some water balloons to play, and then the day went off like that. And the next day, again, he was peeing a little bit everywhere. And I was taking him to the washroom. My mom was taking him to the washroom. And over the next week, we kind of trained him back to use the washroom and never thought at all about this as being anything out of the ordinary. It didn't occur to us that, oh, this is a regression and our kid is autistic. No. Then school began. And the first week of school, everything seemed perfectly fine and perfectly beautiful. So Krishna would hold the Ayamma's hand and happily walk off into class. And I used to wait for him at the reception because, frankly, at that time, I was more anxious than Krishna was. Like, this kid hadn't socialized much because we live in a fairly remote gated community, not too many neighbors, not too many kids around that he could play with. And I had never taken him to play school before that. So this was his first experience with a large bunch of strangers, a class with 30 other kids, and the school teacher, the nursemaids, etc., etc. So I was anxious. This kid was bindas. He was happily holding the Arma's hand, walking off into class. End of the first week. So he came out at about 12:30, 8:30 to 12:30 were the school timings. And his face is all swollen, tear stained. He's been crying miserably. And he sees me and he wrenched his hand out of his teacher's hold and came rushing to me, climbed up. I picked him up and was like, what? He hid his face in my neck and stayed there for the next hour or so with his face hidden in my neck. I was shocked, so I said, what happened? And at that time, the teacher shared that Krishna had not been normal in class. So throughout the week, he had not been heeding any of the instructions. He had not been making eye contact, and he had been, running about in the classroom, playing with the other kids' hair, pulling the girls' ponytails and playing with their clips or trying to remove it, jumping non-stop, not sitting still in a place. And that day, the day when he was sobbing, crying, and came out like this, he had wanted to leave the classroom. And it was not yet time to go, and so they had locked the classroom door. He had had a full-blown meltdown in the class, and they had taken a video and they shared it to me. And I'm not going to share it here, it's highly disturbing. And I was frankly blank, like someone shared over here, completely blank, because this is very, very unexpected, very atypical behavior for Krishna. He's not like that. He's a very happy, sociable child, and this had never ever happened when we were playing with him at home in the entire almost 4 years of his life. Anyway, so be that as it may, a lot of discussions back and forth happened that day, and we scheduled appointments for him at Nimhans. I'm based out of Bangalore. So we scheduled appointments for him at Nimhans and took him there. They had 5 days of the assessment, etc. And he was diagnosed to be on the autistic spectrum. And I think once that sank in and we got back home, I'm not ashamed to say that my husband and I, we both broke down. We literally sobbed. And it was like the sky had fallen on our heads and we didn't know what to do, because you see, autism, yeah, we knew about it. I mean, like our generation, I mean, I don't know if any of you are my generation, we had seen Rain Man long ago. So Dustin Hoffman, autism, something strange. That's all I knew. Or right now, there was Sitare Zameen Par, but that was before his diagnosis. There was Tare Zameen Par that happened with a dyslexic kid, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I am. And that is all we knew about autism. And the occasional article that you read in the newspaper about some paintings which some autistic person had painted, and they will show some clippings in the TV, and then you see these children or these adults who look very different from the people you around you, and you say, yeah, okay, how sad, and you move on with life. That's not going to happen to me. That is something so far removed from my life, I'm not concerned about it. That is the kind of thought that most of us have. So that, and the doctors told us that Krishna is autistic. And they didn't have time for much more except to say, okay, he can go to school, he needs a special educator, take him to OT, and maybe he needs speech therapy. That's over, please go next patient. And it took us, I think, that entire hour's drive back home to even, get those words in from here to here. And then say that, okay, the path that my child has is not going to be the usual typical path of everybody else, or that we ourselves had taken from childhood to adulthood. It's something that's going to be very different. That we knew very well. And coming to terms with that in, you know, changing his school, hunting for therapies, figuring out which therapies and whom do we approach, which other parent perhaps has traversed this journey before us. It was very, very terrible. And today, looking back, let me share with all of you that this feeling of very, very terrible, sorry, excuse me, this feeling that is very terrible and dreadful things have happened to us, etc., is normal. It is perfectly fine. It is perfectly human to feel that way. All that we need to do is not wallow in it, but move out of it. To get out of it by acknowledging these feelings, talking about them. You don't want to talk about them, you can write about them, but don't bury it, please. Don't bury it, don't hide it away, because then what happens is it erupts at the most inconvenient time possible. That feeling is there inside you, and that feeling deserves acknowledgement, and that feeling deserves to be shown out into the sun, so to speak, and then taken away, and then moved away. If you don't do that, it's going to be literally festering inside you and come out someday, somewhere as your own meltdown or your own. Sorry, just give me a moment. It's going to come out as your own meltdown at some point in time. So you're going to break out at Your child may be at your co-worker, at your family, at your parents, someone who actually does not at all deserve to bear the brunt of this meltdown, but which you couldn't help because you've become that pressure cooker. And eventually the valve gives way, right? I mean, if you don't let the steam out at all, the valve gives way and boom, that's what is going to happen. And we don't want that to happen because we need to be there, present, strong, etc., 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 for our kids always and for ourselves too. But what happens? What happens in our minds if you could normalize it a little? Let me talk about it next. In case you can see my slide, and I hope you can see my slide, let me introduce you to the 5 stages of grief. This is the Kubler-Ross model. It's not linear. I wouldn't say that all of us experience it in exactly the same way or in the same order, but we all go through this at some point or the other. And the first, of course, is denial. It can't be. No, Krishna isn't autistic. The doctor must be mistaken. Let's go for a second opinion. I did that. Both of us did. We went for a second opinion. We went to St. John's Hospital. We had another whole set of assessments and evaluations by the psychiatrists, the developmental pediatricians over there. The diagnosis didn't go away because he is autistic. But the first stage many of us go through is to say no, not possible. Then comes the anger. How can this happen to me? How dare this happen to me? What did I do, or what did my child do, or why should we face this? Why me? That happens. And when we are in this why me stage, I think there is a lot of what I'd call bargaining that happens. Bargaining with God, bargaining with fate, or bargaining with unscrupulous people out there, all the charlatans who are out to make a quick buck from desperate parents. So all of this happens over there. Someone will say, you go to this temple or you pay this astrologer or you do such and such a thing and magic will happen. So you give me this 30K and then your child will become perfectly fine in another 6 months. Or we do that prayer or that bargaining ourselves saying that, oh God, I will do ABC. And if I do this, let my child be back to normal or let him or her have that future that I envisioned for him, the dream that I had for him or her. Doesn't happen, unfortunately, still, because no matter what we do, autism is something that our children are born with, and it's not going to disappear with any of these that we do. And we are just left with a heavier heart and a lighter wallet or bank balance. So we tried all of this. First was denial, then we raged at fate, then we tried bargaining or whatever magic fix that we could hunt for. Nothing worked. And then depression sets in. And then is, when you feel that gone, my life is gone, my kid's life is gone, high ray, doom and gloom. So again, that is a very human and a very normal reaction to have because this little creature, this most loved creature who has entered your life, has a future which is not so brilliant. And of course, you're going to feel miserable about it. Of course, you're going to feel hurt and depressed and tired, etc., etc. Of course, but you need to get out of it because you have work to do. You have a lot of work to do for that very child. So to break out of this, you have to accept that autism is something that has come with your child for whatever reason, because we don't know the reason today. Science still doesn't have fixed answers as to why autism happens, what are the causes. I mean, there are a lot of guesstimates, there is a lot of research happening. There are genetic factors, environmental factors, maybe a play of both mingling together. We don't know as yet. We just don't know. Science hasn't reached yet. So today, all that you can do is agree that yes, your child is autistic. What shall I do next? How do I go forward from here? What can I do for my child to enable them? And how do I stay sane, healthy, happy while enabling my child? And it's a very difficult journey. It's a hard journey. It's a physically draining journey, an emotionally draining journey. And that is the work that we as parents get to do because we have to. And when you change that have Do I choose to do this because of my love, because I want to be present for my child, and because I want to be the best human being possible? We change the story. It's not an easy change. It's not an easy narrative shift to do, but it is very much possible. And I would say it's a beautiful journey to make. And here is my very favorite slide. The scary Medusa head with all manner of myths about it. It's very colorful, very scary looking, and kind of for me, it's a visual representation of all the feelings that I had at the time when Krishna was diagnosed. Now, why does the path to acceptance become so tough for us? A lot because of all the myths that surround autism, and because very few facts are known, but everyone is ready to say, all sorts of things like bad parenting. I mean, the parents fought and screamed with each other, or maybe you went and you were not present for your child. Maybe you had a job, you were a working mother or a working father, and therefore you left your child to the care of someone, maybe another person, a different caregiver. You were not there for your child, therefore you're a bad parent, therefore your child became autistic. Please, it's a myth. Bad blood. Genetic factors are definitely there, but that is not called bad blood, like some relatives and helpful friends and beautiful society at large would be, eager to tell you. There is nothing bad or good about it. It just is. It just is. Then mad. I don't think I need to talk about this. Our children express differently because they experience differently. And our children many times cannot, verbalize what is happening to them. Forget the autistic child, forget the neurodivergent child. Take ourselves, okay? We are pretty neurotypical. We all have communication. All of us in this room can talk, can read, etc., etc. We are sitting on a Zoom call and, having this discussion. So, but are we capable of, verbalizing every feeling that we have all the time? I don't think so. I myself, there are days when I feel low, or when I feel a little miserable, or when I feel a little off color, and I have no idea why. I'm just giving a very generic random example. So, and I am a very verbal person. I talk a lot. Right now, all of you, my captive audience is sitting over here and I'm talking and talking. But one day when I'm feeling down, and if you catch hold of me and say, "But why? What is it? Tell me the reason why, let me fix it for you." I wouldn't know how to put it in words. And I'm not wired differently. I am wired to talk, I'm wired to communicate. On the other hand, take our children. Many of them have neurodivergence in the communication part of their brain. I will also talk about this in detail in a few minutes. But so when communication is impacted, or when they're having a sensory overload, or when they are uncomfortable with social interactions, or when they're not able to cognitively process the overload on all their senses. There's a lot of information coming in, visual, auditory, through their sense, through touch, and there is a lot of things happening in their brain which they're not able to handle simultaneously. So they behave differently. So you have a meltdown maybe, or you have a withdrawal maybe, or maybe you have some aggression, you have self-hurting, or you have stimming behaviors, you have hand flapping, you have children who, make noises, some humming, screaming, singing, shouting, a whole variety, a whole spectrum of expression, and people are ready to label that as mad. I will not dignify that with a further comment. I'll come back to that in question and answers if you want to later. Bad karma, another favorite. Say to hell with people who say bad karma. You've got gold level or platinum level karma. And say, what? Gayatri? I have gold level karma. I mean, my whole life is the struggle, and then it's going to be the struggle, and you say my karma is wonderful. Yes, your karma is wonderful. You've got this beautiful opportunity to, you know, develop as a human being, to advance your own personality, your soul, if I could call it that, by developing empathy, by developing patience, by developing kindness, and by learning to live in your joy all the time, by learning to be present. It's not easy. Absolutely not easy. And you have to do it in a very tiny space. tiny span of time, I would say. So it's like you took a 6th standard kid and you pushed them directly into 12th standard and said, come on, now you sit and do integration and differentiation. And that kid is going to yell and scream at you most definitely and say that I don't know how to do this. I hate math. Get me out of this. Da 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 da. That's going to be the natural reaction. And that's how we react when we are forced to up our game, when we are forced to up ourselves as human beings to manage our children and to enable our children. So that journey is so difficult, and so we have a lot of difficulties. We complain, we cry, we scream. That is not bad karma. That is opportunity, and that is great karma if you decide to make use of it. So the next time some helpful neighbor or relative says that, oh, poor thing, it is your karma, what to do? Accept it with a beautiful big smile and say, yes, it is my karma, and I'm so glad of it. So actually, it's a lot of fun, when you throw people off their game with comments like this and they'll say, hey, this person has really lost it. And you haven't lost it. You are literally in your zone, in your joy, in your space, and you mean what you say. And they get so totally confused. And that is a lot of fun, You should get your joy where you can. Small kicks. So, all right. And the other myth that I've left out is what evil spirits I'm not even going to talk about now, unless any of you has a doubt that autism is a possession or whatever it is. It's not. Vaccinations, there is a lot of conversation happening about that. There is a lot of debate happening about that. But as of today, there is no proof. There is no proper evidence or a correlation between vaccinations and autism developing. What happens many of the times is that when you vaccinate your child, they fall sick. That is a usual reaction to a vaccination when the body starts fighting whichever virus or germ has been introduced to build up that immunity. And when the body's immunity is lowered, and when your child is already fighting fevers, etc., their expression of autism perhaps comes out at that time a little sooner. By expression of autism, I mean either maybe meltdown behaviors, perhaps aggression, or that may be the first time when you start noticing lack of eye contact or a little regression in speech or any of these issues. I have a feeling that that happens because already your body strength is a little lowered and it's occupied in fighting the virus, the germs, whatever it is to build immunity. And so the expression happens at around this time. Maybe tomorrow science will prove me wrong. I don't know. But as of today, there is no evidence which says that vaccination causes autism. And autism is something that your kids are born with. So that's another point that parents beat themselves up with that, oh, damn it, I went and gave my child that MMR vaccination. I shouldn't have done it. Then they would not have been autistic. Rather, if you did not give the MMR vaccination and your child developed that fever or measles or whatever it is, now that's going to be something that you really beat yourself up about, because these are really horrible diseases that there is a cure for this way. So I really don't think we need to go down that route right now. No. And now we are back to my favorite part of this session, which is an activity for you. Now that I've, talked to you long and loud, hopefully not bored you about all the myths surrounding autism and the reasons, some of the reasons perhaps, why we find the route to acceptance so difficult. Now, would you like to take another 2-3 minutes to write down what is it that has rooted your grief perhaps so strongly in you? What are your lost hopes? What are your lost dreams? What are the fears that you have for your child and for yourself? Fears for the future, for your own life, perhaps. So, what is all of this again that is lurking inside you? So, take another 2 minutes, please, and write this down. Write it down as if no one is going to ever read it again except you. If you feel, if you feel any hesitance, if you feel any resistance to voicing these thoughts of yours. And again, it is to this day, I'm scared about Krishna's future, very frankly. What am I going to do? But I'm not letting that fear overwhelm me now. 5 years ago, it almost overwhelmed me, and I really didn't know how to go ahead without it. So, again, the point of this activity is to write down each fear, each lost hope, each worry, each root of your grief so that we can look at it again, talk about it, and see how we can break it down and move out of it. Hmm? So let's take 2 minutes again over here. It is 3:50 right now. So I will give you all till 3:52 and we'll listen to my favorite music. So make that list. Talk about anything, everything, whatever it is that is paining you right now, today, because of your child's diagnosis. Oh. Have you all got that done? Do you want a little more time? If you want more time, just drop empty in the chat box. Else, we will go ahead. No? All good? All right. So, let me move ahead from here. All right. So, now, a lot of what you have written, the fear that you have, the grief that you have, the broken dreams that you have, all of these are the bars that form that cage of grief that lock us in, that do not, that prevent us from taking steps for the future, that prevent us from acting for the best possible future for both ourselves and for our children. So let me talk about that a little more now. By fear, what do I mean? There are two aspects to the fear. One is the fear for our child. So what about the child's future? Will they be able to have a normal life? Will they will they be able to hold a job, get married, live a normal settled life like you see everybody else living, like your own life? So will my child be capable of that? If not, what is next for them? So that is a huge fear that all of us have. for our children? Will they have a normal social life? Will they be independent? Will they be able to support themselves? So that is a whole set, there's a whole range for your child's future that you have, and of course for your child's present too, in terms of will they be able to make friends? Will they be able to go to school? All those little experiences, that have built us, will they be able to experience that? So that fear is there. Then there is a fear for our own lives. Will I be my child's caretaker forever? I mean, don't I have a life anymore? Is this the end of my life? All that I have to do is to earn, take care of them, and make sure, that they are safe, secure, and doing whatever it is that they're able to do. What about me? My interests, my joy, my aspirations? Do I have to, just get rid of all of that? And many of us feel guilty for having this fear. And my God, what a bad mother I am. What a bad father I am. I'm thinking about myself and I should be worrying about my child. So that is a lot of complex interaction that happens in our own mind. So that is the fear aspect. And then there is the lack of knowledge about what is autism? What do you mean by spectrum? What does it mean for my child? Where is my child on it? Because despite all the information that perhaps that you're getting at the clinical level, still there is a lot of confusion as a parent, because you go to therapy, you go to school, and you see another child who's also supposed to be autistic, but who's very different from your child in whatever way. Either you feel they're better off, or you feel that your child is better off, but it is the same diagnosis, right? They're both autistic. So what does that mean? So both these aspects, the lack of knowledge and the fear, contributes to the guilt, the grief, the confusion that we go through. So about the fear, I will talk about a little later what it is that we can do as parents for our children and for ourselves. I will immediately talk about the lack of knowledge. So I spoke about the myths surrounding autism, whatever autism is not. So what is autism then? Very simplistically, very briefly, our brain processes a huge amount of information, and there are different functions of the brain that help you perceive the world, that help you, function as the normal, capable human being that you are. So, broadly speaking, you have communication, you have motor skills, you have perception of the world about you and about yourself also, you have sensory processing, and you have executive function. I think motor skills, communication, perception, sensory processing, got it. Motor skills is, moving about. I ride a bike, maybe pick up something, pick up objects, anything that you do physically with your hands and feet. Motor skills. Communication, self-evident. Okay, perception, how you perceive the world about you, how you perceive yourself, how you perceive others, your relationship, all of this, all the way that you process the information that you're getting from all your senses, that is covered very broadly by perception. Executive function. Executive function is the name they give for any task that you execute. Let's say, like, I'm feeling thirsty. I want to drink water. So I pick up my bottle, which is here, and I drink water. So this whole action on my part, identifying that I'm feeling thirsty, identifying I need to drink water for that, locating where the water is, picking it up, drinking it, putting it back. So this whole set of actions is an example of executive function. Sensory processing. So we've got 5 senses: eyes, nose, tongue for taste, ears for hearing, and skin for a sense of touch. So these 5 senses process all the stimuli that we're receiving from the world about us. And that is another aspect of our brain function. So in autism, what happens is that the brain is wired differently, if I could put it that way. So that is also termed the neurodivergent brain. So you could have neurodivergence maybe in communication. So communication is impacted because of autism. So your child is maybe struggling with speech, struggling with language, or struggling with pointing at things, or is minimally verbal, or is non-verbal. Like, for example, Krishna is non-speaking right now. From speaking, he has regressed to non-speaking. So that means his neurodivergence is impacting his communication. Perception. Perception is again such a huge thing, huge spectrum of both activities and processes happening in your brain. So if there is an impact on perception, so how is it that you're processing the information that your brain is receiving for physical perception of of the physical world about you? If I'm talking about social perception, how is it that I read other people? How is it that I read myself? If I look at you, I know that you're happy or you're angry or you're bored. And if I look at myself, I know that I'm feeling happy, angry, bored, etc., etc. So all of this comes under perception. And if that is impacted, then this understanding of various social situations is skewed. Executive function. So maybe my brain recognizes that I'm thirsty, but then for that, for that impulse to translate into the action of drinking water, there is something the matter in that place because my brain is not processing that in the correct sequence. So maybe I feel thirsty now, but it takes me 2 minutes to locate the water, pick it up and drink it, or rather to take the decision to pick up that glass of water and drink it. Or maybe it's impacted in some other way. So, but when executive function is impacted, this is what happens. Motor skills. Motor skills is fairly straightforward. So, there you talk about gross motor skills, fine motor skills. So, writing or maybe riding a cycle, coordination when you want to play sports, football, throw ball, all of these. So, when motor skills are impacted, then there are challenges in all these aspects. Sensory processing. Sensory processing again is something which majorly causes most meltdowns in Krishna for him. So that happens when maybe your visual stimulus is too much. Visual stimulus, what do I mean? Maybe the room is too bright for medium light. You find it medium light and your child finds it overly bright. So that happens when there is overstimulation. You think it's medium light, whereas your child is not able to see anything at all. They feel it's very dark. Nothing is wrong with their eyes. But the way the brain is processing the light information in that room is different. So you have oversensitivity, you have undersensitivity in all five. So in vision, in hearing, in sense of smell, in sense of taste, in sense of touch. So there's a lot of tactile seeking that Krishna has. He loves handling different textures and he wants to see something that's pokey, something that's soft, something that's scratchy, satiny, wet. So all of these. So when there is neurodivergence in sensory processing, then all the information that the five senses are giving you is going to be impacted. So either it is excessive or it is less. Now suppose there is a child who is impacted in more than one area. So maybe sensory processing plus perception are neurodivergent. Maybe there is an issue in communication plus executive function. Or maybe there is an issue in everything, in all the five major areas that I have talked about. This is a very, very broad classification, by the way. I'm not going in depth at all into all of this. Or maybe it is just one. Let's say sensory processing is impacted. So you took your kid to the park and maybe they're finding the noises there too much. Or maybe the scents are overwhelming them. Or maybe it's a combination of everything. So your child is not able to handle that and they're going to be sitting like this. And you say, okay, come park time over, shall we go home? Nothing wrong with your child's communication and they're very beautifully communicative, very verbal at home, say. And here in the park, what are you finding? They're sitting like this and rocking. Now, when there is an overwhelm happening in sensory stimulation, how do you expect your child to talk sensibly? Let's say that you've got a splitting headache and I took you to the theater and there the music is blasting full volume and then I'm saying, okay, come on, are you having a good time? Are you enjoying yourself? What are you going to do? You're going to bite my head off. Pakka. So this is a kind of reaction that our children, when they express, we term it as a tantrum, we term it as a meltdown, we term it as behavior. Definitely, it is all of this, but there is a very, very solid, very, very present underlying physical cause for all of this. So in so when we say that autism is a spectrum of disorders, I'm just talking about five broad classifications, and I'll leave it to your imagination to figure out scenarios where you have just one area affected, multiple areas affected, and how these areas interact with each other. It is not an isolation. So sensory processing won't sit all by itself, and communication won't sit all by itself, or sensory processing and motor skills. Obviously, they're going to interact with the same human being, right? So when some part of you is impacted, all of your system responds as a whole. And there is such a spectrum over here. There's such a variety over here. And that is the reason why, if you've seen one autistic person, you've seen only one autistic person. There are so many permutations and combinations happening over here that we can't even, I think, list them all out. And therefore, there is such a huge difference in the children that we see, in the adults that we see, and in their issues, in the expression of the issues that they are facing, so on and so forth. So very, very briefly, I have covered this. And let me move on again to what it is that we can do as parents after listening to all of this gyan. Yeah, my child is autistic, my child is impacted, my child has issues in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H areas. So what is it that I can do as a parent about it? The very first step is autism is just that. It is autism. It's a fact of life. Like you can say that the sky is blue, the grass is green. I have to pay taxes and I'm late for work, or I'm on time for work. It's just a fact of life. There is no moral weight attached to autism. It is not bad. It is not evil. It is not something that you need to be ashamed of, something you need to be guilty of. Nothing. It just is. So that is something that we as parents need to absolutely and completely internalize. That And there is nothing that this child with autism is superior to that child with autism. This child without autism is superior to that child with autism. It just is. And there is a difference in abilities because of that. And there is a difference in the difficulties that we experience as parents, as the child experiences in their daily life. Of course, there is. But that is just it again. It is a difficulty. It is an obstacle. It's something to be overcome or not, depending on how we are able to manage it. But there is no morality. It's not evil or good or bad or, anything like that. So there is no need either to get a superiority complex because, oh wow, my child is autistic and therefore is a savant, or, oh no, my child is autistic, it's the end of my life. Neither way. There is no morality attached to it. There is a lot of physical difficulty. There is a lot of effort that we need to put in. And hence comes the struggle with the balancing of it. And hence comes the endeavor that we need to put in to, figure out how to keep our emotional health, mental health, physical health intact so that we handle ourselves and we handle our children. Now, this is a very interesting therapy that I came across as I was, creating this set of slides to prepare for this session. It's called the acceptance and commitment therapy. And oddly enough, it talks about scientific evidence and backing for the mental and physical health of caregivers of autistic children and autistic adults, and how there is a definite improvement and a definite positive impact when this act or acceptance and commitment therapy is undertaken by the parents. I wouldn't even call it therapy. So I was just talking about how there is no moral weight attached to autism, right? And that is acceptance. That is positive acceptance as just taking things for what they are. And I'm saying positive acceptance because it doesn't mean that you say that, okay, my child is autistic, it's end of the world. Let's leave them be in a room at home and do whatever it is they want to do. There is nothing more I can do about it. No. You see that they are autistic and you take whatever steps you need to do to enable them to the best of your ability. That is positive acceptance. Now, cognitive diffusion is when you see the comments and thoughts that you make to yourself, that you listen to from others in society as what they are. They are someone's opinion, and that someone is either yourself or it is another person. It is not, the gospel, or it is not the truth, absolute truth engraved in stone or anything like that at all. It is not. It is a feeling that you have. It is the story that you tell yourself in combination with the facts that you have. Now, when you accept these for being just that, for opinions and for feelings and for stories and not, absolute truths, then it is possible for you to, change the story, to change the narrative, to kind of tell yourself something different. For example, let's say that it's my fault that my child is this way because I did ABCD. I fought with my spouse, or I took paracetamol when I was pregnant, or I went for work and I abandoned my child in that crucial 1 to 3 years, and that's where they are autistic. Now, this is the story you're telling yourself. I am a bad mother because of this. Change the story. That is your thought. What is the fact? The fact is that your child is autistic, and the fact is perhaps that, okay, you yelled at your spouse when your child was 1.5 years old, and you had a big fight with them, and your child observed that. You had a fight because of whatever emotional and mental stress that you were undergoing, both of you were undergoing, and it was a disagreement that you had, which you either settled or not settled. Okay, and maybe you can handle it better in the future, maybe not. I did the best that I could at the time with my circumstances and the knowledge that I had. So you diffuse the tension that way. I am a bad mother because I fought. I did the best I could in that situation with what I knew, with what I had, and let me move on from there. And I'm doing my best to be the best mother I can be to my child. You have changed the story. And it is not just a story, that is the thing. You need to believe this, and you need to internalize this change of narrative, and then it works. Then you diffuse that emotion and the negative feelings that you have from that particular thought. Present moment awareness. Being present in that very instant without, guilt or grief for the past, fear and anxiety for the future. When you decide that you're going to experience that moment for what it is, for all that it is, and take all the beauty out of it, all the pain out of it too, that happens sometimes. That is when you're living fully in that moment. And when I said beauty and pain, I mean both. As human beings, I think we need to experience a whole range of emotions, what we call positive as well as what we call negative, grief, sorrow, despair, joy, happiness, elation, and the ones in between, peace, contentment, boredom, indifference. All of these are part of the human experience and are what differentiate us from, a piece of rock or mud or whatever it is. And the trick is to let these emotions to experience them and let them flow through you. Don't let them jam up inside you. Don't get clogged up with them. Anyone. I mean, it's like you're elated and you're floating in the moment, and next moment you're, down in the doldrums and depressed fully and filled with grief and stuck in that. Or stuck in the happy moment. No. Let everything flow through you and experience each and every one of these emotions, feelings, circumstances as a gift of that particular moment, as a gift of that particular present of yourself, of not yourself, that particular present that you're experiencing. And that is being in the moment, that is being in the present, where you're removing the past, removing the future from your thought process. Self as context, the observing self. This is another beautiful trick that you can use when whatever it is. It's most useful, of course, for difficult moments, for heavy emotions, where you kind of, split your awareness, split your consciousness, and look at yourself as an observer. You just witness what it is that you're going through and say, yeah, okay, I am feeling miserable at this moment, and it looks like I might start crying the next minute. And okay, I see that, I note it. And that's about it. You're just observing your mental state, your emotional state. You're observing the feelings that are washing through you. Maybe you're excited, elated, thrilled, and you watch that too. There is a part of you that is just an observer. There is a part of you that is just looking at yourself. And what that does is it gives you context. It also moves you for your future experience. Though, yes, I said be present in the moment, don't look at the past, don't be afraid of the future. And while that is true, a lot of our past experiences are what build how we experience the present too. So let's say that you've watched yourself going through a particular phase and that phase reoccurs, or there is something similar in this current situation. From your previous experience, you know better how to handle yourself, you know better how you will feel, and you know better how you will act, how you will respond instead of react to that situation. Values clarification and committed action to living those values. As an example, my values are very, very simple. My job is to stay healthy, happy, and my job is to enable Krishna to stay healthy and happy. So that is my core value, and whatever it is that I do, I examine around this. So maybe it's a medication, maybe it's a therapy, maybe it's a vacation that we are taking. And this is what I look at. Am I living in tune or acting in tune with these two values? Will this make me contented? Will it make Krishna happy? How is it going to impact the both of us? It's very simple to think about and quite complicated when you enact it because it's something that's easily forgotten. But when you know what your values are, when you are absolutely 100% sure about it, you examine every action of yours around that value, becomes very simple to act. Then you know definitely that no matter someone recommends ABCD or your friend says that this is the best, etc. for you, maybe it is for them. You need to examine it in your own context, in your own values. That is this the best for me? Is this the best for my child? And that is a decision that only you can take. So this entire framework, this is what comprises this acceptance and commitment therapy. And when you start living this, when you start practicing it, to a large extent, it reduces especially the emotional and mental burden that we carry, you know, and the heaviness that we carry and all that stuff which tends to drag you down, all the, let me forgive my language, kachada or garbage, if I can call it, that drags one down. And we keep generating garbage in life, right? It's the way of life every single day. I mean, I just gave my household garbage segregation instructions as they changed it in our community. And then my maid was cribbing and saying, "This is all extra work for me, madam." I said, "Yeah, please do it. From tomorrow, I will handle half of it in the morning. Today, you manage. Otherwise, they're not going to clear the garbage." Every single day, you have to do it, right? Every single day, life generates garbage. You have dry waste, you have wet waste, you have whatever it is, this, that nonsense. And that's what happens in our internal life too, in our emotional and mental landscape. Living generates garbage. You need to keep clearing it out. And this is an excellent method, one of the excellent methods of clearing out that garbage that we create. And I think, yes, I have dreadfully overshot time. So what I will do is, here is that table, you know, that initial table that you filled, the external voices, the inner critic voice, and the wise, compassionate voice. I will not wait right now for you to complete this table, but I would really, really request you to go ahead and finish this. Now you have got the statements that people and you yourself are telling yourself. All right. How would you reframe it? How would you rephrase it? That wise, compassionate voice is whom? That is yourself. Just do a little role play here. Suppose there is someone really beloved to you, you know, maybe your sibling or maybe your child, or maybe you're going to your parents, you're going to your mother and you're telling her that so and so is saying all of this to me. What do I do? What will that kind person who really loves you, who has your best interests in mind, what is it that they will say about that statement? Put yourself in that role and rewrite that statement for every single sentence that you wrote for this table, for every external voice and inner critic. And see if you can feel the rephrasing. See if you can feel what you have reframed that story to be. And that is the trick over here. And there's no secret hack, it's just practice. Keep at it and you will feel that rephrasing. And when you feel that rephrasing, then your mindset changes and then the transformation begins. For this too, it's very similar to what I covered right now. Again, I wanted to do this activity here, and because we are 20 minutes past time, I will not start it again. But let me describe what it is. This is a mirror exercise. So stand in front of a mirror and tell yourself the story which has hurt you the most, the comment which has hurt you the most, either something that you thought yourself or someone else told you. And there are all those sentences, statements that, feel like a dagger to your heart and that stay there. You think you've forgotten it, but you haven't. You take it out and examine it every once in a while, like, digging up that old wound to see if it bleeds again. Take a statement like that. Take time off for yourself, some quiet time. Stand in front of the mirror, look yourself in the eye, and make that statement that hurt you. Then, what you're going to do is you're going to reverse that story. You are going to create a new story for that fact, which makes you feel empowered, which makes you feel that this is more truthful about what I am and about who I am. And you're going to repeat that story to yourself, looking yourself in the eye. This will take maybe 2 to 5 minutes when you're comfortable with it. When I tried this initially, I couldn't. I couldn't look at myself in the eye and tell myself that story which hurt me the most. I just couldn't. I went away. I was trying this in the bathroom. I shut the door and I went away. I said, forget this. This is not for me. But I kept at it and went through this process again and again till one day I could tell that story to myself and I could tell the reframe to myself too. And honestly, for me, that tight feeling is here. I usually choke up. It's in my neck. My neck will tighten and it will hurt, and my throat will hurt, and I can't speak. That is where my heavy feelings or grief or whatever it is that you want to call it resides. That dissolved and it went away. Initially, when I tried this mirror exercise, it was like this. It was like one huge, horrible, painful ball in my throat, and I didn't want to do it. I said, forget this. I am not doing this now. I washed my face and went away. And I said, to hell with whoever it is that told me to do this. I'm not going to do it. But keep at it and try it out. And I will ignore all of this. And I will ignore all of this now. And I will just move on to the fact that if you want to continue this journey of exploration with me, I have a bunch of programs for you. This is one of my one-on-one programs where it's an 8-week program. I will help you regain control of your life, to identify your child's learning style, and to recognize your griefs and fears to a little more than what I have covered now in this session, which is very superficial because we really don't have the time for more. And how is it that you go ahead with your life, assuming that there is not a very great change in your circumstances, meaning that your child doesn't suddenly, show 100% improvement, like we love to call it, because it really doesn't happen in real life. There is definitely improvement, but it happens in small steps, in incremental steps. So when that happens, how do you still lead your best life? How do you still harmonize your life, your values, your aspirations, and with the requirements of your child and move forward in joy? That is my absolute pet mission in life. So that is what I handle in this program. So what will you get? You will get recorded video sessions. You will get worksheet activities. You will get weekly challenges. You will get PDF handouts. And you will get weekly workshops or one-on-one sessions with me, depending on how time permits. Okay. This is a form that you can fill, which I will be sharing in a handout. So I will not waste time over this. I will move straight to Q&A. If there are any questions that you would like to ask, which you want answers from me for,
Yeah,
I'm happy to take them now.
can you please post it in the chat to that link for to fill up that form?
Mr. Kanamori, I can't hear you. Can you please speak up? The volume is very low.
Yes. I the just now you have seen that link now to fill up the
Yes.
form.
Yes.
Kindly post it in the chat box so that we can
Yes,
fill it right
yes.
now.
Yes, I will be sharing a handout right now,
Okay.
which includes most of what we have covered here, the activities that we went through, core concepts. It
Okay.
includes this link. It includes the programs that I'm taking, including some self-paced programs. So all of that information is there in that PDF. So I'll just drop that. Malini, can you please help
It's
me? Can
shared
you drop
now.
it in the
It's
chat
shared in
box?
the chat box. Hopefully
Shared in the
everyone can
chat
see.
box? Wonderful.
Yes. If everyone can
Yeah.
see, please do let me know.
From
Yes,
chaos to
yes.
clarity PDF.
PDF is
Yes.
available.
Yes.
I am asking you the link to fill the form.
The link is inside this PDF. It's a clickable link. You
Yes,
just need,
link.
yeah, it's a clickable link. You can just click it and fill up the form.
Where it is actually? I don't find out.
Can you download the PDF? Let me just show you.
Yeah, 1 second.
I will just share that just a moment.
Yeah, a autism journey from chaos to clarity.
Yes. So you can just scroll down on that. I'm just getting a little stuck in all the windows that are opened in my screen. Just scroll down on that. I think it's on
Page
page
number?
number. Just hang in, please. Hang in there. My
Okay.
system is hanging. Just a
Okay,
moment.
okay.
Just a moment. Scroll. Okay.
7 of 19, ma'am.
Yeah, correct. 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 So you have the forms there. You have my mail ID, which is gvatsan@gmail.com. And you can book a free video call with me on Calendly. All of these are clickable links. And I'm sorry, I'm not able to tell you the page number if you can't locate it because my PDF is stuck. It's
Yeah, it's
refusing.
7, page number 7, available, got it.
Page number 7, wonderful. Okay, great.
Form is opening.
It's opening. Beautiful.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I have a pile of windows open here, so I need to do some cleaning up on my desktop.
Yes. So I think before we move to Q&A, I would also like to share a few details. My name is Malini Roy. So this session, Gayatri ma'am so beautifully took as part of the CARE project. And here at CARE project, we're also conducting a research about caregivers' well-being. And we are actually conducting a free workshop on 2 days. And I'm right now dropping the link to register for that workshop. You can either register through the link or you can contact me at the number. Many of you may have already registered and participated. If you haven't, and if you would like to, register for the next session, we've already completed one session of workshops and we'll be rolling out the next session soon. So if you're interested, please do sign up and I'll get back to you soon regarding all the details. And I think we can move on to the Q&A session, ma'am. Quickly.
Absolutely.
Yes, great.
Anything that
We can now
anyone
take
wants
questions.
to, yeah. Anything anyone wants to ask me, to talk about, to share? No? Come on, folks. I chewed your head off for 1.5 hours. There should be something that you want to talk about. No?
Ma'am, I think I have a question.
Yes.
Yes.
Happy to
My
take it.
question is like, what would you say to a parent whose child has just been diagnosed with autism, someone who might be standing where you once were? Because that is a very tough position to be in as a parent. So what would you tell them?
I'd say that take your time to feel miserable for a while, but step out of it. Because you don't take your time to feel miserable at that point in time, then that grief and all those emotions again come out at the wrong time. And then there are people who will tell you that it is wrong of you to feel unhappy and it is wrong of you to feel any negative emotion because you need to celebrate your child's autism. I would say celebrate your child. You don't have to celebrate their autism because sometimes autism manifests in a way that maybe enhances your life, but that's only sometimes. And if that happens, wonderful. I'm so happy for you. Then celebrate the entire spectrum. But otherwise, always celebrate your child. And you're always free, you're always more than welcome to look for anything that will mitigate their issues, their problems, and anything that will improve their quality of life. And when searching for that anything, of course, be very careful, be very skeptical, and be really, be really the harshest critic that you can of that particular cure or fix that you're looking for. Because you want your child to be be enabled, to be improved, or to be bettered in their life. You don't want to set them back. So you don't want to cause additional difficulties because of this therapy or this cure or whatever it is that you're looking for. But take time to acknowledge your feelings. Always take time to acknowledge your feelings. Otherwise, they don't let you move forward. You're a human being too. You're a human being first. So that is what I would tell that parent who may be standing in the shoes that I was standing in 7 years ago.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Anybody else? Questions?
No, then okay, then wonderful. I thank each and every one of you
Sorry,
for.
ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. I just have a question to ask.
Please,
Uh,
please.
at what age we can exactly diagnose whether a boy or a girl suffering with autism exactly?
I think the earliest is somewhere at around 18 months.
Okay.
And usually in children, by 3 to 4 years. In fact, Krishna was an outlier. He was apparently diagnosed late, but his symptoms manifested late. So by around 3 to 4 is the usual age group. 18 months to 3, I would say, is the usual age group where age range where you kind of, the expression begins, the autism expression begins, and you need to take your child to a developmental pediatrician or whoever it is, someone for a proper clinical diagnosis.
Okay, ma'am. At what age the proper age to intervention or correcting autism or to make them better? What is the correct proper age?
By around 2, I think. By around 2, you can start with the occupational therapy. At 2, please don't focus too much on either ABA or speech. That
Okay.
comes, I think, at a later stage, maybe after the child is around 3 or so. But occupational therapy and any sensory diet that you want to provide for the child through occupational therapy by 2 is a great age. 18 months to 2, in fact, is great age to start in case they are expressing those difficulties. The reason why is that in younger children, you actually can't make out. In younger children, it is too early to say that they need speech therapy, they need behavior therapy, this, that nonsense, because for God's sake, a 2-year-old is going to be a 2-year-old. They're going to be messy and they're going to cry and scream and throw things about and, be naughty. So that is a bit early, in my opinion, for either speech or ABA.
I have two kids, ma'am. My I saw the complete stage, infant stage two. And
Mm,
now say my daughter is nine. One daughter is 9 years. One daughter is 4 years.
mhm,
So one of my colleagues' daughter now she is in I think third year running,
mm,
but she's not as many as the kids I saw.
mm,
She's not pay attention to anything, like
mm,
especially some rhymes.
mm,
If she listen heard the rhyme sounds,
mm,
then she will rush to the TV and watch
mm,
that.
mm,
Otherwise, no. Even we shout, call her big girly, she
mm,
will not respond.
mm. Then if she's 3 running, then definitely I think that you should take her for a medical
We
assessment.
Yes, ma'am. We are not. We can't say them, suggest them to go for a.
Oh.
How can I it is hard to tell them that maybe they know somehow they will know,
Ah.
but we can't say them to reach out for help.
If they are really a good friend, then you can tell them that just, I mean, obviously not in front of others. Just take them, have a private conversation, and tell them that this is something I noticed, and please forgive me if this is hurting you, because that is totally not my intention. My intention is to, help you out in case you have not notice that maybe there is an issue with your child. So, in the best interests of the child, have you visited a medical practitioner? Have you taken her to the pediatrician and have they said it's all okay? But because this is possible, it's possible that she is neurodivergent. And you could start therapies now and it will definitely help her. Because if she's 3 plus, definitely therapies can be begun at that time. And there is a lot of therapy which, helps the child get ready for school. So things like sitting tolerance and ability to interact better with peers. So all of this is addressed in many of the therapies, and it will help the child integrate better during play school, preschool, whatever it is, whichever is the first step that they are planning for their daughter. So you can just tell them in this way that it's something that I noticed. Please forgive me if you're hurt by this, because that is not at all my intention. I'm feeling very hesitant to bring it forward, but I want the best for your child, obviously. In case you have not noticed it, have you considered, taking her to the pediatrician, to the developmental pediatrician? That is the person who is the right specialist to address any developmental issues, growth delays, developmental issues, all of that. So just very nicely say that, and in case they get angry, just apologize profusely, saying it's not my intention at all to hurt you. So I'm really sorry if that has happened, and step back. That's all we can do, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am. As per your inputs, this is the right time.
yes.
If we miss the right time, it will be never come again.
Yes,
It will
very
never
much
come
the
again.
right time. And in a lot of cases, early intervention is extremely helpful.
Yes,
And
that's
early
that.
intervention will help, save them a lot of grief later on. And a
Mm.
lot of difficulties, a lot of trauma for the child. See, because Krishna experienced so much trauma in school. So
Mm.
that's something that I didn't share. For 6 months, he had such severe separation anxiety. His father or I had to carry him continuously, 24 hours. He would not even take a bath, because to take a
Yes.
bath, I had to put him down, no? Or I had to stand under the shower with him, and my husband would pour water on both of us. Or he would stand with him, I would pour water on both of them. That was how bad he was. To change his clothes, he would scream so much. Many times I bathed him with part of his clothes on because he would not change it. So that was the severity of the separation anxiety he underwent because of the trauma in school, because we were completely unaware that he is autistic, because he did not present at all at home. We had no idea, apart from that peeing incident, which got resolved more or less. So there is so much that you can avoid. There is so much pain, grief, trouble, trauma that you can avoid for both the child and the parent if you get a diagnosis at the right time and start early intervention at the right time. So if you can talk to your friend and convince them, it would be wonderful. If you can't, then you know that you've done the best that you can, that whatever was in your hands to do, you have done it. So I think that's
Correct,
about
ma'am.
all that we
Well
can
said, ma'am. Well
do.
said, ma'am. Well.
Sir, this is also a question that has come up during the workshop that I've taken. And what I would suggest is also to have some resources ready for the parents
Mm,
in case they do ask for it.
mm,
For example, your nearby pediatrician, or maybe you can do a Google search and find out looking at the review, because in the early stages they might be very resistant to search up this information, and it would be very hard for them to do so. So what you can do is you can maybe send it to them or keep it with you, so that in the future when they might be having a hard time and do reach out to you, you have those ready. Or you can if they are okay, you can send it to them and say, hey, I'm just sending it here, if you or anybody else in the future need this information, it could be of help. That way, it's, you're not forcing action upon them. You're just giving the information and letting them decide what to do best for their child. I think that could also work. Definitely, the approach also matters, as Gayatri ma'am mentioned, but yes.
No, yes,
Should, ma'am. Very
definitely.
nice. Very.
Definitely. And do ask them also, do ask them permission. Just let them know that this is something that I looked up, I'm sharing it. And again, because again, sometimes people get offended that you
Yes,
thought
yes.
something was wrong with my kid and you searched all this without telling me, da 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 da. So that can
Yeah.
happen sometimes. So, but just let them know and keep repeating that it's because you want the best for them and for the child, and you can't keep quiet, and it is not your intention to hurt or offend anybody at all, but to help. That's it. That's the best you can do. And like Malini shared, if you've got the information ready, like what is their first point of contact? Who should be a developmental pediatrician? So who's the best person, who's closest, and what is the process to get their appointment, etc. If you can research all this, keep it ready. It would be really, it'll be more tempting. It's like when the parents also notice it, okay, my friend said that. Is that so? Oh yeah, maybe there is something in what he said. And he has already searched this for me. Chalo, let me take a look. So that can also happen.
Thanks, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Welcome.
Do you,
Okay. So I
do
think,
you,
yes,
do,
sir.
do you have any idea about which university is giving early intervention from distance education?
You mean
Sorry, sir.
certification? I mean, you really
Yes,
want to study early intervention?
yes,
I'm not
yes,
sure. Malini should be able to better let you
Sir,
know.
it depends. Like, are you talking about a degree or a particular intervention?
yes,
Because
exactly. Any diploma
uh,
or degree?
I think what we can do right now is maybe certified courses that are offered internationally and nationally. I can provide you with resources. I think you have my number, sir. But again, it's very difficult to get certified, or the common pathway would be to do BSc, MSc, then MPhil that way, or become psychiatrist or specially trained in autism interventions for the child. So yes. Okay. Okay, I think, ma'am, we can
Is
wind
it?
up.
Hi, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
It was very informative session. I learned a lot from you. It was very wonderful to look at the situation from a combined lens of parent and a trainer. And you explained the act in a very beautiful way as anyone could understand easily. My name is Stina. I'm a clinical psychologist currently working at NIMHANS. So I'm here not to ask a question, but I would like to share a piece of information about what I do. As a part of my PhD program, I'm offering free psychotherapy sessions for parents of children diagnosed with autism. So I have adopted an integrative approach of combining acceptance and commitment therapy, what ma'am has just mentioned, to build emotional balance and behavioral parent management training to strengthen positive and effective parenting strategies. If anyone of you are interested, or if anyone of you know the parents who might need psychotherapy sessions to manage their distress and learn some effective parenting skills, please do approach to me. Is it okay if I share the details in the chat box?
Yes, ma'am, it's already shared, but if you want, you can share it again.
All right, I'll share.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. Thank you for the
I think,
wonderful session.
yes. Yes, I think, are there any more questions?
No more, ma'am.
Okay,
It's
okay,
good.
great. I think, thank you so much, ma'am, for the session. Thank you so much for taking out this much time. Nidhi, we can go ahead and slowly wind up the session. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Malini. Ma'am, first of all, on the behalf of the CARE project and on behalf of all the participants here today, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to you, ma'am, for leading such a deeply resonant session. Your reflections on parenting a child with autism with courage and compassion have truly inspired us all. Thank you again for creating a safe space where parents, caregivers, educators, psychologists, everybody could connect. It was an honor to have you with us today, and we look forward to much more meaningful interactions in the future. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Nidhi, and thank you so much, Malini, for creating this space, for taking the care literally, to think about parents and caregivers and for the space, for the sharing. And it's been a wonderful experience. So thank you so much for enabling this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all participants for joining. Thank you for taking
Thank,
out the time.
thanks, ma'am. Thanks for your courage to share your knowledge with us. You have faced so many issues,
Thank you.
and you are guiding, helping the society to overcome all these problems.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Really
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thank you,
Okay.
Gayatri ma'am. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your invaluable experience that you shared with us. It was a learning experience. And I'm looking forward to correcting with you separately or an email in the interest of time.
Done. Thank you so much and looking forward to that connection too. So thanks everybody, and I will frankly flee right now because Krishna's therapy is going to get over, and this is the time when he's at therapy. So I take the session. His therapy is over. I will run away.
Yes.
So thanks
Thank
again
you
for
again,
all of
ma'am.
you who came. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much to all giving this good opportunity to attend this session. I'm a psychologist from Telangana.
That's lovely to hear. That's lovely to hear. So thank you. Tata. Bye bye.